Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a Q&A. I asked on Twitter quite a while ago now for some questions. I was hoping that I'd be able to film this sooner, but apparently I haven't been able to. So I'm answering them now. I asked on Twitter and I got some great questions, so I'm just gonna jump right into it. Katie is asking, you might have already answered this one, but what got you into theatre and what was the first West End show that you saw? The show that properly got me into musical theatre and wanting to go to the theatre was Wicked. I'd seen a few shows before then, but this was the one that sort of kicked everything off for me. My first West End show was The Lion King. The next question is from Grace, and that is, what is your least favourite West End theatre and why? Which is a great question, and I've been thinking about this and I'm not too sure, to be honest. I don't know what I would choose as my least favourite West End theatre. Would you consider it West End, but possibly the Arts Theatre? That's not my favourite. Just, I don't know, there's something about the vibe of the auditorium itself. I don't know. It's just something about it I'm not a huge fan of. I think that's the first one that comes to mind. Apart from that, they're all okay, aren't they? They're not bad. The next question is from, I think I'm going to say your name wrong and I'm totally sorry, but Miak. Miak is asking, favourite musical other than Wicked, which is a great question. So it kind of depends on what mood I'm in. I know that's such a cop-out answer, but some of my favourite ones to watch have been Matilda. That is a top fave. Also when it was on in the West End, Singing in the Rain. Loved that show. So those are definitely up there. Yeah, those are the first kind of ones that spring to mind, so let's go with those two. The next question comes from Perry, and that is, how did you book your New York trip? How did you plan / make an itinerary of activities, etc.? And how did you get your tickets on Broadway? Hopefully, I'll have already put up a video of my friend Jake and I talking about how I booked my Broadway tickets and how he, as a local, would have booked for the same shows. I'm hoping that video is going up before this one, so you'll have probably seen that already, but if not, it'll be linked below. So in that video, we are talking about all things tickets for my trip, and I've also had a couple of requests to sort of talk about planning the New York trip, so I think I'm going to save that to make a full video on it, probably in like Vlogmas, just so I have an idea for Vlogmas. Hope that's alright if you can wait just a little bit longer, and I will answer your question in full in that video. Moles, lots of S's, is asking, do you prefer West End Wicked or Broadway Wicked? Good question. I think I prefer West End Wicked, but only because I've obviously seen it way more. There are a couple of differences in Broadway Wicked that I really love, especially in like Defying Gravity, the way they have it so that they can actually go under the stage and then come up out of it as if they are actually climbing up into the attic. That's like one of my favourite moments of the Broadway version of Wicked, and it would be awesome if they could do that here, but obviously they can't. But yeah, I think overall the West End Wicked has got to be my favourite. Lindsay is asking, when seeing a musical for the first time, do you prefer to be familiar with the score already, or would you rather go in not knowing any of the music, and why? If you've watched a few of my videos of new musicals that I've been to see, you'll probably already know the answer, but I prefer to go into musicals blind in terms of like not knowing anything about it, not knowing any of the music, if I can avoid it. Obviously with some shows it's hard to avoid. For example, like Waitress, which I recently saw on Broadway, I'd already heard a couple of the songs from that, from people covering them in concerts. Same with like Dear Evan Hansen. The only big thing that I've listened to already that I've not seen it would be Hamilton, because when it came out, I didn't know if it was going to come to London, and I didn't know if I'd ever get the chance to see it, and everyone was going on about it, so I was like, you know what, I'll listen to it. And I am actually glad that I've listened to Hamilton, because I feel like knowing everything that's being said, obviously it's very fast paced at points and lots of like the raps and things like that, so knowing them and knowing what's happening in the lyrics, I feel like I'm going to enjoy the show more. So that's a good thing for that. There are some times where it's that similar situation of going into a show and some of the lyrics are a bit hard to understand, or with accents and such. So at those moments I'm like, oh, I wish I'd maybe had a listen to the soundtrack cast recording beforehand, or known a little bit about the show. But for the most part, I like going in not knowing anything, and then it's nice to listen to the cast recordings afterwards. It is a bit of a struggle when it's a show that's maybe smaller, like a fringe production or a new musical where there's not a cast recording, and obviously then you can't listen to anything afterwards. That kind of sucks, but it would have been the same case anyway because you wouldn't have been able to listen to it beforehand. So yeah, did I sum that up correctly? Did I say everything I wanted to say there? I like that sort of unknown of going in and just taking everything in a show as it comes. I feel like if you listen to something beforehand and then obviously then you see it on stage in the full show, full context, it can be really different. And I think I'd rather go into a show and have everything given to me fresh and then maybe listen to it afterwards or what have you, and then kind of solidify my opinion on that show. Kerry is asking, would love to know your fave stage door experience aside from Wicked, and wondering if you can just watch a show now or if you look at everything, i.e. I always concentrate on the wings, lighting, orchestra pit, ensemble, etc. to find extra bits. So, gonna go for the first question first, obviously. Favourite stage door experience? One recently that pops to mind is at Come From Away, meeting Jen Colella, because she was like the sweetest human being ever. I got a bit emotional about it in the Come From Away vlog, because, not emotional at the stage door, don't worry, just when I was chatting about it, because she was just so sincere and so kind and saying to everyone like, I appreciate you and that means so much, thank you for coming, and like all that stuff. I was like, oh my god. So that's definitely one of my favourite recent experiences. Also just in general, I think at every Broadway stage door getting asked about my microphone and the dead cat on the microphone, that was funny. I love that that's obviously a comment that's now in all those vlogs, because I know Sean has commented saying like, obligatory dead kitten comment. I'm like, yeah, pretty much. But yeah, Jen was so sweet. And yeah, it does kind of suck sometimes being not over analytical, but like over watching a show and just looking for everything can be a bit of a pain. I almost miss the days of being like just a casual theatre goer and just enjoying the show for what it is. And now you're watching and you're like, well, how are they doing this? And what happened there? And is that meant to happen? And oh, what's happening in the wings? And what are the ensemble doing? And oh, I've just missed what the main character's doing. So it is a bit of a pain sometimes. It's all right if it's a show that you can repeat watch and, you know, like you can then fully watch the show and not just focus on one thing. I think it's hard as well when there's someone in a show that you're like really looking forward to seeing, like, and they're in the ensemble or what have you. And then, yeah, you're just totally missing everything else that's happening because you're watching out for them. It's a bit of a pain, yeah. James is asking, what's the worst touring version of a musical you've seen? Which is a great question, and to be honest, recently I've not seen that many tours, so I think I've been pretty lucky in avoiding any bad experiences, to be honest. I mean, I was tempted to go and see the recent Ghost tour just to see how bad it was, but then I thought I'd rather not ruin my memories of seeing Ghost, so I didn't. But if I saw it, that probably would have been it. Apart from that, I don't think I've seen any bad touring productions, because this year I've seen The Addams Family, I've seen Billy Elliot. What else have I seen on tour? Is that it from what I've seen on tour this year? I need to check my YouTube. What have I seen? Yeah, I think those are the only two tours that I've seen this year, Addams Family and Billy Elliot, and they were very good. So sorry, can't answer your question really because I've not seen a lot of tours. Grace has a couple more questions. So Bootlegs, yes or no? I'm conflicted on Bootlegs, I'm not gonna lie. If I see someone filming or taking photos during a show, I'm gonna be angry because they are disrupting the experience for other people. So I'm obviously going to be annoyed at that and probably would be that person that tells an usher so they stop if it's a distraction to the fellow audience members. But I also understand that obviously some people live in the arse end of nowhere and they've not got the money to see these productions because they're thousands of miles away. And then if that's their only source of enjoying musical theatre, I'm not okay with it, but I am, how to say this? I'm happy that they're able to watch them in some sense, but I wish that, like, especially productions that have closed, that are like finito for now, I wish there would be a proper recording. I get the argument like, oh, if it's professionally recorded and sold, then people won't go to the theatre, but they still will. So when it's a production that's closed, you could put out a really crap recording of a show and the fans would still lap it up. Like, musical theatre people would love it and they'd love to be able to see it in some way, in a more legal way. That's me not avoiding the question, but avoiding giving a proper answer. Grace also asked, have you ever seen Wicked? I don't know, I'm running out of ideas here. I feel like I've seen Wicked a few times. Jonathan is asking, if you were to create an original show to go straight to West End or Broadway, what would it be? Based off of something? I am not a creative person in terms of like, I could maybe write a musical if the idea came to me, but I've been thinking on this question quite a lot and I honestly do not know, because I feel like a lot of my life experiences are already in musicals. Like, the only kind of big thing that's happened to me that I could then like channel into a piece, it would be losing my mum. Like, parental death would be the thing of a show, and it's pretty much covered, isn't it? Like, the first one that springs to mind would be Ghost, or recently I saw Big Fish and that ruined me. So I don't really know what I would do. So I guess it would be based off of something, but then I'm not sure what I would base it on. So I'm going to think more on this question and get back to you, but immediately I'm just going to leave it to the people that are better off at doing stuff like that. If anyone else wants to answer that question, I'd love to know in the comments what you would write a musical about or base it off, because I think that's a great question. So thanks for an excellent question. Sorry I can't properly answer it. Nathan has a couple of questions. The first one is, I'm fascinated that you've seen Wicked so many times. Have you ever gotten backstage access or had anyone from the show contact you? So yes, I have been backstage at Wicked in London. I went backstage in 2012. Gosh, so long ago now. Yeah, so I went backstage. And then in terms of people contacting me from the show, I mean, I've obviously like made connections with people in the Wicked cast. So yeah, I guess I have, like, in terms of like, I'm friends with a few of them on Facebook and like go to their concerts and maybe help them out with recording stuff and things like that. But no, I've not had like the creative team reach out to me. No, just purely just on like a cast member level, which is great still. Recently when I went to Wicked, I picked up my tickets and one of the box office staff said, are you the girl that makes the YouTube videos? I was like, yep, that's me. So I feel like, yeah, quite a few people in the Apollo Victoria might know of me. Anyway, I'll wear a mask from now on going to Wicked. Nathan also asks, I'm curious your opinion on some of the earlier Elphabas who you maybe didn't see in person, Idina, Shoshana, Eden, Stephanie. Yeah, so you're right, I've not seen any of those as Elphaba. I've seen Idina in concert, I've seen Shoshana in concert, and I've seen Eden in a show. So Stephanie is the only one I've not seen performing. Idina's Elphaba I do not like. Shoshana and Eden, from what I've heard, I think they're quite similar. Not to like say they're exactly the same, but in terms of kind of the style of Elphaba. I feel like they're quite similar, and then I feel like obviously Stephanie is a bit similar to Adina because obviously they were doing like the workshopping together and stuff. So I mean, I don't have like really strong opinions on them, to be honest, because I'm not a bigger fangirl as I used to be in terms of like obsessing over audios and things like that. I don't know, I'm a bit of a calmer fangirl, which is mental considering how fangirly I still am. Yeah. I've got one more Wicked question. It's from Chris, and he's saying, what's your favourite moment in Wicked and opinions on Defying Gravity? Obviously, Defying Gravity is amazing. It's such a powerful and incredible Act 1 closer and just a song on its own. And yeah, I love it, obviously. Defying Gravity is not my favourite song in Wicked. I think my favourite would have to be The Wisdom Eye, because it's a banger of a song, isn't it? It's great. But yeah, Defying Gravity, it's amazing. I mean, I've got so many amazing memories associated with that song. Obviously from like the first time I saw Wicked and the first cast change that I was at, where I was a mess. And for example, like the first time hearing Rachel Tucker sing it out of the show, and like the different variations that I've heard of this song, because it's been covered in so many different ways. So yeah, it's a fantastic song, great message behind it. I love it. My favourite specific moment in Wicked, that's a very good question. One of my other favourite songs in Wicked is One Short Day, and I think possibly that moment where Elphaba is what's the line? I like the nobody's staring, nobody's pointing line. I love that. I love that whole song. I just think it's so joyous and bright, and I love it. Yeah, it's probably one of my favourite moments in the show. Yeah, I can say One Short Day. One last question is from Cora, and she's asking, what do you think of representation in theatre in New York and the UK, and what are the biggest noticeable differences in theatre in New York and the UK? I think the biggest the biggest noticeable difference between Broadway and the West End is probably the price. The prices are ridiculous. In fact, TodayTix did a fun infographic article, I'll link it in the description, talking about the differences between Broadway and the West End. It's just really fun. It's a nice, when it's infographics and you can just easily skim through it. Not skim, but you know, it's easier to read. And there was a fun bit about the fact that I think we in the West End had higher attendance numbers, but obviously Broadway makes more money despite this, because obviously their average ticket price is at least probably 2 or 3 times the West End price, I would say, at a guess. Yeah, anyway, I'll link that below. It's really fun. Yeah, the price, and then also probably the amount of new stuff coming in. I think I was reading in the programme from the Other Palace, which I'm actually going to swivel around and find, because it was a fun little thing from Andrew Lloyd Webber. I found it. So obviously this is in the programme for the Other Palace. So saying, I'm thrilled that the Other Palace is already becoming a hub for anyone interested in musical theatre. Last season, only 2 new musicals were produced in the West End compared to 13 on Broadway. Maybe the Other Palace, under the stewardship of our artistic director Paul Taylor Mills, can help redress the balance. So far, we've been home to 27 musicals in 9 months, which is fun. So yeah, I think the fact that Broadway gets a lot more new stuff, that's the other kind of biggest difference in my eyes between the Theatrelands. Hopefully we'll get to a point where we'll be similar in terms of new stuff. In terms of your question about representation, I'm not sure if I'm the best person to ask. I feel like we're doing okay in terms of representation, but there is always room to grow and be better in terms of more representation. And I think the bringing in new musicals will kind of go hand in hand with this, because the more different voices that are being heard through either musicals or plays, and then the platforms that they're being given, obviously that's going to diversify the stories and the people that we have on stage. I think that's going to be the biggest stepping stone in making sure a wider amount of representation is shown. That's my initial thoughts on that question. I've not really thought about it too much, but yeah. That's an interesting topic. I'm going to be thinking about that a lot more now. Okay, well that is it for my second Q&A. I'm pretty sure I didn't miss out any questions. If I did, I'm sorry. Ask me in the comments and I will answer them. I really hope that you've enjoyed this, and if you want to give any of your answers to some of the questions that I received, I would love to know them in the comments as well, because I'm a nosy bugger and I just like to know things. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more of me in the future. I think I'm gonna do another Q&A maybe as a vlogmas video, so make sure you're following me on Twitter because I'll put a little post out to ask for questions and obviously do another video like this. I hope you're all doing really well and I will see you very soon. Bye!